Hello everyone, this is VZone32 back again, and today, well, I was going to do some deck reviews, but I'm pooped. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to look at some of the worst Kickstarter projects and creators. And let's start. I got about 15, basically. 16 actually, but the first two, and this is in no particular order. The first two I'm combining into one because it's the same thing. It is collectible playing cards and Gambler's Warehouse. And my issue with them, my peeve with them is that they are putting out too many projects at the same time. Collectible playing cards has been doing two projects at the same time, and we're still waiting on well, now it's up to like 4 or 5 decks that they need to produce. And Gambler's Warehouse has been doing some of the same as well, and they're also pre-selling decks on their websites, and it's getting ridiculous. This is bad because one, they are continuously grabbing more money out of people's wallets or asking for more money out of people's wallets without delivering anything, and pretty soon people are going to get tired of it and are not going to be able to afford it. And then what's going to happen? They're not going to get funded. And the other thing that's bad is that all these decks are clogging up things at the USPC, and that's bad for their customers because it means they have to wait longer for decks, and it's bad for everyone else who's creating projects on Kickstarter or elsewhere where they want to produce decks and they're being delayed. So it's bad for the customers, it's bad for everyone else in the card community. It devalues all their products when they're releasing so many decks that are subpar in some cases, especially with collectible playing cards. They're okay, but they could be better if they put more effort into them, and instead of pumping them out, in my opinion. And I mean, I like collectibleplayingcards.com, and I want them to do well, but when they got so many decks of cards down the pipe, and they're supposed to be doing like 12 decks this year, and something like that. It's causing problems. It's too many decks at once. They're not delivering anything. They keep putting more out, and they got so much of my money right now. It's ridiculous. And I'm not the only one. Next on the list is Noel Quills. Two projects, the Bicycle King of Kings and the Bicycle Meridian. Kings of Kings is already available on different card websites and eBay. Unfortunately, I am still waiting for mine, and I spent over $90 on that project, and I'm still waiting for it. Apparently, he said he's going to ship out the decks and refund me on poker chips. Apparently, he's still waiting on poker chips. If you're waiting on poker chips for this long, you might as well go to someone else and cut your losses because it's ridiculous. And I'm not sure how much I buy that, or if he's just screwing me for whatever reason. The other project, which I did not back, well, I backed, but then I canceled it before it's too late, is the Bicycle Meridian. People are still waiting for stuff. There has been a lack of updates. I think it was back in February when he received proofs, and yet people still haven't gotten anything, and it's been like 5 months. I don't recommend backing any future projects if he ever does anymore. Next on the list is David Cito, I think that's how you pronounce it, who created a project for the Diamond Cut playing cards. The Diamond Cut playing cards had already failed a couple of times on Kickstarter, at least twice. And now, several months ago, it was on again. It was successful, not USPC. It's supposed to be done by MakePlayingCards.com. And he he claims that he's still waiting on them to deliver his stuff, and this has been ongoing on for a couple of months. But apparently, he's also not responding to people a whole lot, and hasn't posted any updates saying, these guys are screwing me over or anything like that. So I don't know what to believe. All I know is that I paid for this product, I haven't received it, and he's on my sit list right now. So don't back any of his projects if he ever does anymore, which is probably not. Next on the list, Alex Willis, who created two projects. Well, he's had a few different projects, but two that are on the list. One is the Bicycle Michael from our 1616 deck of cards, and the other is the Bicycle Victorian Adventure playing cards. Victorian Adventure was the last one he did. Actually, he had one that came after that was a zombie original or something like that. Did not do good. It was cancelled. But this one, the Victorian Adventure, was really the last one that was successful. And we haven't had an update since last year. And same with the Michael Fromar, which apparently was produced, and some people might have received it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with those two. I know that I canceled them and asked for refunds before it's too late, which is good. But I do know that there hasn't been any updates in quite some time, and that people are pissed off, and rightfully so. And, I've been saying it for quite some time about him not to back his projects, and turns out I guess I was right. Next on the list, Chris Cavill, who's created the Type deck, which is a typographic deck. A lot of people were not feeling too good about it after a couple of months. And so far, well, basically this project was created last July. And this project was created last July, and he's still apparently working on the art. And I know he's made all sorts of... he's had updates saying he's been dealing with all sorts of issues and stuff like that. It's funny how people have so many issues after funding has ended. And he's not the only one. Far from it. And then they go, oh, we got this issue, we got that issue, there was health issues, there was a death, there was this, there was that. It's ridiculous, But anyways, don't know if I'll ever see that one. It's ridiculous how long it's taking. Next on the list, Darren Gendron, I believe his company is Scallywags, something like that. The deck is Sealy, and he had one previously which was successful, and people did receive. I don't remember the name, or at least most people received. This one is a fairy tale type deck. Again, it's been dragging on for like a year now, and he barely posts updates. It's been, I think the last one was in the beginning of May, and he apparently had, again, another guy with excuses. Apparently he had to have his appendix removed, and apparently that put him on the shelf for like 2 months. I don't know how it takes that long to bounce back from having an appendix removed. It's usually a pretty simple procedure. You cut them open, cut the thing out, take a couple weeks off, and then you should be good. And then there's been other excuses and stuff like that. And he also claimed in one update that he had a $50,000 hole in his funding, in his money, and that is not good. And he has to pay artists and stuff like that. So I don't know if we're ever going to see this one. It's ridiculous. Next on the list, the Faro Card Company. They had two projects. The first one was the Bicycle Heads, which some people did receive, and being Poker World was selling, he received them. And the other one is the Bicycle Dante's Inferno, known just as Bicycle Inferno now, which again very few people received. Somehow there's a seller from Taiwan who receives every deck of cards, almost every deck of cards, that nobody else receives. Like the Infernal, and I'm guessing the Heads, and he also had the Bicycle Core, and nobody else gets these. Why the hell is a seller in Taiwan, or whatever it was, somewhere in Asia, receive all these decks that nobody else gets? And then he sells them as a reseller, and people who actually want them don't get them, you know? Why is it a reseller is getting cards and backers aren't? I don't know. It's not fair. But anyways, Feral Card Company, their website no longer exists. They went out of business, and they had pledged not to create any more projects on Kickstarter, and so far they have not. But there's a lot of people still waiting for both of those decks. I was waiting. I pledged on the Dante's Inferno for both decks, and I never received anything. And a lot of people did not get Dante's Inferno. A lot. The Heads, I know that some people didn't get either. If I had seen that information in the Heads deck campaign earlier, I would never have pledged for the Dante's Inferno, but I didn't see that until afterwards, unfortunately, so I basically got screwed. Next up is, of course, Altius Management, who created the Asylum playing cards. Well, it was designed by a guy in Europe who seems to have gone MIA. And then there was some issues. Eventually, Altius Management, run by Ed Nass, got their hands on the project. They were supposed to manage it and run it. They basically stopped talking to the designer, and then they went MIA. And Ed Nass has been covered by the news, and now he's being sued by the Washington, by Washington, I guess. So hopefully some good comes out of that, and hopefully some of these other SOBs get what's coming to them as well. And I mean, all Ed Nass had to do was basically go to USPC, get the stick printed, because all the art was done, and deliver it to people. Simple enough, but he didn't do that. But anyways, next on the list, Adam Clarkson, who got two projects, the Bicycle Revision 1 and the Bicycle Army Men. The Revision 1, I know there was some issues with it, but I think most people got what they paid for, even if it was a little bit delayed. The Bicycle Army Men is a whole other issue. You received money for this. It was funded. He had some legal issues with USBC regarding the creation of the deck. Then he took some of the money, spent it himself on other stuff, and then in the end, he decided that since he wasn't going to make any money from this, he wasn't going to get it produced. And to his credit, he did refund a fair amount of people. I never got a refund. It was supposed to be in the mail, but it never came. And I don't know, and this whole refund method was kind of stupid. It was send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and he'll send you the money, possibly, maybe one day. Which is just really silly, especially in today's day and age. Eventually, he did cave and start to refund people via PayPal, but I can't do PayPal, so that was not an option for me, and I'm never getting my money back. Oh well. Next on the list is his buddy Russell Kurtzel. Both of them had a website, CircleCityCards.com, which is still up and running, I believe, but nothing is happening on it. And Russell had a couple of projects, the Americana and the Brimstone, which went pretty good. Then he had the Bicycle Quicksilver, which started off good until he stopped delivering stuff to people. I'm guessing that he had too many, his shipping was not high enough, and that he had too many early birds and stuff like that, and he didn't get enough money. And then I know there was also issues with the dice, I believe. All I know is I never got what I paid for. I had to buy it elsewhere, which is bullshit. I am sick and tired of pledging for stuff on Kickstarter and then having to buy it elsewhere. And this is one of them, and there's been a couple others. But anyways, Circle City Cards is pretty much dead. Russell Kurtzel and Adam Clarkson would never dare to create another project on Kickstarter because nobody except idiots would back it. Then there's Timothy New, I don't even know how you pronounce it, who created the bicycle core playing cards. Again, that's another one that I had to buy elsewhere afterwards. And he delivered on some pledges, but not all of them. Hasn't had any updates in forever. And hasn't even been on. His website's also no longer work. And basically, he's gone MIA. It's BS again. Then there's Beta 17, which created the Ultraviolet. Originally, the Ultraviolet was on Kickstarter. It failed, so they said, okay, well, we'll try again. They did. It was successful a second time around, and despite all that, they failed to deliver the product. They had them printed. I know that is for a fact because I got them elsewhere. Actually, one of the other backers who got his brick, or brick in a bit, was kind enough to send decks out to people, and I was one of the people that received them. And that's it. I haven't even seen these for sale anywhere. Maybe they've been on eBay on the odd occasion, but they're very hard to come by. Very few people got them. I think the only people that did get them was basically some backers in the United States, nobody international. That's for sure. And I don't know. It's crap again. It's it's bad enough when somebody takes some money and doesn't produce anything, but these guys actually went to the trouble of producing the decks. Just like the Feral Card Company, and then they didn't bother to send them out. That's same with Timothy New. Next on the list, Aliens Inc. / Alien Slink. A lot of people not a huge fan of theirs. They've never ever been able to get a deck made by the USPC. They never get enough funding, so they're always made by, I guess, Make Playing Cards or whoever. Most of the ideas are so-so. Biggest issues, again, a lot of people have issues with and don't trust them. Some people apparently still waiting for stuff that they paid for or didn't get the stuff they paid for. They have flat out told me not to pledge for any more of the decks because I kept questioning stuff. And one of my biggest questions is why they have to use multiple accounts for projects. Usually they launch something on their Aliens Inc. account, and then once it fails, they go to their secondary account and relaunch it with a lower goal, just so people can't see all these failures they've had on their Aliens Inc. account. That's my opinion. Yeah, so that's that. They have a very small following, obviously. And it's pretty bad when you can't even get a non-USPC deck funded the first time around. And most of the decks don't usually fund the first time around. We're getting to the end here, folks. A couple more minutes. Next on the list, Omar Renfro, who created the Flamingo playing card campaign. It was a bust. He had issues. He was charging way too much for international shipping for all the tiers. He did eventually lower some of them, but it was a little bit too little, too late. And his fault, because myself and other people brought it up to him and said, hey, you know what, this is crap, it's way too high. Obviously, he didn't do the homework and figure out what shipping costs were going to be beforehand. He just figured, I'll charge whatever, and then the extra is mine. And the other issue is, I guess he figured that he would have a good following from using these cards on 311 videos, and from Zach Mueller, I think he used them as well. And I figured he could cash in just like Zach Mueller did with the Fontaines. Didn't happen. So, I mean, Fontaine, Flamingo, it's very similar. And again, it's a very simple, almost standard deck, so didn't happen though. One more person on the list, BM Poker World. Yes, BM Poker World's on the list. Why? Well, he hit the bicycle Grunzland deck that was on Kickstarter. It failed not once but twice. And my biggest issue is that despite his constant complaints about other creators on Kickstarter, on his United Cartist forum when he owned it, despite all his, constant complaints about other creators, he didn't do much better. He barely had any updates. He had like 3 updates in the first campaign, I think 4 in the second campaign. I don't think he listened to people a whole lot. He didn't change a single thing from the first campaign to the second campaign. Everything was exactly the same. The pricing, the artwork, everything. So, from a guy who's, is pretty much a hypocrite and complained about so many different campaigns and creators, he failed at it himself. Even though he claimed to know so much and knows about all the prices and everything. But anyways, that is that. It's a little bit long. I do not recommend most of these creators. Collectible playing cards in Gambler's Warehouse are fine. I just think that they need to stop pumping out so many decks of cards before buyers start going, you got all this money from me already for all these other projects that you haven't delivered yet, and you want more? Screw it. And that's going to happen eventually. I'm already doing it myself. I'll just get them later on the website. That's that. See you next time.